Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, over the last weekend, we saw a lot of severe weather across the South, from Texas into parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Not only were those storms producing a lot of hail and severe winds, but they were putting a lot of precipitation down on the ground. Where the thunderstorms kind of followed one another, in other words, we had multiple rounds of thunderstorms, we saw some locations getting better than 4 inches and some reports of over 8 inches. Those storms did reach pretty far to the north as well. In addition to a pesky system that kind of moved through over the weekend in northern parts of the plains here in the Great Lakes states, we then saw our next system emerging out west, bringing a lot of coastal precipitation to northern California, and coastal Washington, and Oregon. The active pattern that we have been in isn't slowing down one bit, and I want to talk with you about it in this video because it's very important as we think about our spring field work. In the south, it's been all about severe weather. Going back to the 5th, the strong to severe storms were in parts of central and western Texas, but by the time we got into our weekend, look at this. 104 reports of severe weather, a lot of hail, a lot of strong winds with multiple squall lines and even some discrete cells. And as the upper level trough that created this reinvigorated on Sunday, again we brought in the same region another 108 reports of severe weather. In the regions I just circled, you are not done. The next 10 days, very active with severe weather. And we'll take a look at that in just a few seconds here. Meanwhile, with the warmth that many of us saw over the last several days, look at what we've done to our snowpack. You're looking at snow water equivalent. We really only have snowpack now sitting in parts of northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, the UP, and Michigan. But things are going to change for this region as well, as we have a vigorous mid-April system that's coming through. Where is that system right now? It's in this large open wave that is out here in the Central Pacific. That is our problem child moving through the middle part of this week. And as that system is hitting the northwest right now, we're still dealing with this system that moved through parts of Texas yesterday and is now in the lower Mississippi River Valley, making its way over toward the Carolinas throughout the day today. The Pacific Ocean is loaded and it is ready to move multiple systems across the country and cause major problems. And here it is. This is the way that we view this in atmospheric sciences. You see, what we're dealing with here is our first shortwave trough, and the color coding here is vorticity. Vorticities spin in the atmosphere, and when we move pockets of vorticity around, they help develop low pressure systems. That's why we look at this. So this trough slides here to begin with. This open wave here, all right, it's got a positive tilt to it. By the time it gets in northern plains, it will have a negative tilt, which means the system's going to lift. We're going to see many systems lift toward the Great Lakes in the coming 10 to 15 days. That's going to keep active severe weather across the south and pull plenty of moisture into these systems. So let's take a look at them and their timing. Ready? As I click play here from the European model, system number 1 throughout the day, Monday into Tuesday, sweeps through the southern part of the United States, the Mississippi, Alabama, and the Carolinas, bringing in severe weather. Look what happens into southern California. There it is, sweeping through California into the Great Lakes states by Wednesday. This emerges on Thursday and develops a deep upper level low with a lot of spin, and that will invigorate a strong low pressure system there in the Central Plains. And it lifts right here toward the Great Lakes. See that? That system takes on off by the beginning of our weekend, bringing in colder air behind it. But this, not done, not even close. Right through Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, our next system emerges at the end of our weekend, bringing in another strong low pressure system that also sweeps toward the Great Lakes. See it there? It just sweeps right through the Central Plains toward the Great Lakes. And this gets us through Monday. Our next system then emerges Tuesday into Wednesday. See it right here, the deeper trough feature? This pattern is extremely active. Severe weather south, flooding rains across the Midwest and central United States, and unfortunately, snow on the backside of this. So just adding up from the European model, our next 7 days of total accumulated precipitation, this region has a major flooding threat. We're going to add to the already wet conditions here in parts of the I-states and getting up toward the Great Lakes. And unfortunately, what you see in through here, a lot of this is going to come as snow. We still add more rain to coastal Washington and Oregon. They need this, but this system as it moves through is going to pack up some more snow in parts of the northern Rockies, which is also good for this time of year, but that just spells active pattern moving forward. We're going to be putting down this rain and this snow in an area that over the last 60 days, so our last 2 months here, some of these same locations are already at 150 to well over 200% of normal precipitation. And even though you see over the last 60 days things are dry down here, they've been very wet recently, and the severe weather threat in that same area, this pocket of the United States, it's about to get lit up multiple times over the coming days. Now, I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to rewind the clock back to about a year ago, back to April 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. We had a major blizzard. Remember this one? We put down between 6 and 18 inches of snow. And why I hate to show this to you is because this same region is under the gun this week. Here's our problem. By Thursday evening, as that first big trough sitting off the west coast really starts to transition into this negative tilt, it's going to provide a bunch of upper level support to develop a big low here over basically around Omaha, parts of western Iowa. The pressure gradient on the backside is intense. Expect blizzard conditions. To the south where the front passes, severe weather, and through this area, heavy rain. And it's going to move to the east with time. This is being fed both on moisture from the Pacific, which that's hard to do to get that moisture over the mountains, and an abundant amount of Gulf moisture. This system has everything it needs to be potentially extremely powerful. And the models have been extremely consistent with this. Look, this is the previous model run, the one before that, the one before that, and the one before that. You can see that throughout the weekend, our model here, the European model, has just honed in on the position of this low pressure system. So the moral of the story, will you please go outside today? Yes, severe weather down here. We're still dealing with a little pesky system moving through the northeast. But if you're outside of those two areas, go outside today and enjoy the temperatures we're going to see on Monday. We're going to get this warmth through the first couple of days of this week because after that, change is coming. High resolution NAM model moving forward. Let's stop it right there. This is early Monday morning. So this model was run late last night. See the strong storms that are moving through parts of Mississippi, even back and toward Louisiana, through Alabama, through Georgia. We are seeing the model picking up on a long frontal squall line sweeping through the panhandle of Florida. And out ahead of it, discrete supercell thunderstorm development in parts of Georgia, moving into North and South Carolina, right in through here throughout our day. So that's our main problem for the southern region. Meanwhile, a system is sliding through Minnesota, sliding through northern Wisconsin, moving into Michigan. That one's going to be bringing in some pesky rainfall for that area, while the first system exits to the northeast, bringing some more snow to parts of Maine. But your attention needs to come back over here. You see, this is when that big open wave hits Northern California, Oregon, Idaho, and into Montana. And that system, watch what happens as we get through the day, late in the night on Monday, into Tuesday morning. It's now emerging here in parts of Wyoming. And that low, as it gets going, taps into a lot of Pacific moisture and a whole lot of moisture that's coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. And we're going to watch for this snow on the backside. It's going to go from Colorado all the way north through Wyoming and Montana, stretching back through South Dakota, Minnesota. Now, the problem with us forecasting this system now and pinpointing snowfall amounts is it's going to be nearly impossible to do. I'll show you the probability here in a few minutes. But again, severe weather threat today confined to this region. So from Mississippi, this is system number 1, but Mississippi getting up into the Carolinas through parts of Georgia, that's what we're going to watch today for severe weather. Okay, since we've seen the first few days with the high resolution NAM, let's just get ourselves out here to Wednesday. By the time Wednesday gets going, this is where the low started to emerge, such that by Wednesday evening into Thursday morning, it's a vigorous system. Now, I know you don't see the model picking up on precipitation down here, but we are going to watch as this front sweeps through for severe weather already at this point, getting into Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. But as we progress forward, look at this system get going. This is now Thursday afternoon and evening. Severe weather threat here to the south, pressing to the east. Heavy rains out here to the east, and blizzard-like conditions on the backside. And let me take off those drawings and show you where this goes. In the morning on Friday, look at the heavy rains for the Ohio River Valley, all the way down to the lower Mississippi River Valley. Snow on the backside as this progresses through Wisconsin, the UP, and Michigan, over toward Quebec and Ontario. You're going to get a little bit of a reprieve, although cooler weather will be in the middle part of the country. But system number 3 comes out of the Four Corner states, and this brings a major severe weather threat to this area. And then look at this, as this system gets going, we are soaking parts of the Mid-South and the lower Mississippi River Valley. And I know you're going to see this, people in parts of Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois, and go, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Okay, the details are not pinned down in the system coming out next Sunday evening into Monday morning, but it could be vigorous enough and have enough cold air on the backside that we could get a brief shot at some snow in some locations. Major rainfall down here, severe weather with this system as well. And watch this. I told you the pattern's active. That one's gone, goes up to the northeast, and here comes the next one. You see, we just keep the pattern active, very, very active moving forward. Let's talk about that snow. We can't pin down exact amounts just yet, but this is the probability of getting at least 6 inches. Wyoming, parts of Colorado, Nebraska, maybe even dipping into northern Kansas, but certainly South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, you are under the gun. Probability of getting over a foot. Yep, there's plenty of Pacific moisture and Gulf moisture with this one. This area right in through here. We'll have to watch all week long to see exactly where the heaviest snow band is going to be. But if you are in parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, and parts of northern Wisconsin, look out. This system's coming your way. If you're south of there, this is the European ensemble through next Monday. Probability of getting another 2 inches of rain, between 80 and 100%. And the national blended model over here on the left has this same area through the next 10 days, possibly picking up another 2, 3, 4 inches of rainfall. More than likely, the rainfall amounts are a bit overdone here in this pocket in here, but this doesn't mean that we're not going to get a lot. Flooding is our problem. Flooding is keeping people out of the fields. But to add to that, the warm weather we had this week is going to be cool by the end of the weekend. So ready? If we play this forward looking at temperature anomalies, now let's play this quickly. This gets us through midweek. Now, as this system gets going, the trough sweeps through, cooling California and the Intermountain West down first, such that by Thursday morning, look at this. Warm air out ahead of this thing, cold air on the backside. That cold air sweeps through the middle part of the country here. We keep the east relatively warm throughout much of this week, but you're going to get your turn to get cooled down too, East Coast, because as this moves through, you can see that deeper trough hangs around for a weekend in the middle section of the country and finally progresses toward the east. Now, out ahead of the system we have coming in early next week, yeah, there's a warm-up coming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then some cooler air comes in behind that. While it is not as cold as a year ago, this very active pattern, we're still not getting any field work done because of too much water. And even week 2 keeps that same area very active. This is just looking only at week 2 precipitation anomalies. Well, the reason why I give you this global look is because I want to jump from here down to South America. You see, much of the next 10 days or so is going to be wetter than average across Brazil's northern and eastern growing regions. We just have this nice tongue of moisture pushing in some extra end-of-season precipitation, because remember, normally in April, the monsoon should be weakening. When you get down here into southern Brazil, specifically Paraná, which is what I've circled there, it's interesting. They went through the end of March and beginning of April on a dry spell. Now, going into that, they were wetter than average, as you can see here. But this is a major producing state for Brazil, and we're just going to keep a closer eye on it because over the next 10 to 15 days, they're looking drier. It's also looking dry in the rest of southern Brazil, Uruguay, and much of Argentina. So we have a drier pattern emerging here. No heat stress in the near term, but some drier conditions to be watching down in this region as we're rapidly progressing toward the end of this crop. So just something to think about, not a major weather story just yet coming out of South America. I want to give you a global perspective. This is the last 90 days. We're looking at precipitation anomalies. Now, we've talked a lot about North and South America. We've talked a lot about Australia. So I want to bring your attention to a couple other areas, specifically Southeast China. We've seen multiple times over the last 3 months where southeastern parts of China have been extremely wet. I'm just concerned about some major river flooding in this area. Okay. The other region I want to take you to is much here of Eurasia. Specifically, we have some pockets of dryness that have emerged into parts of Europe. But if you go to the Black Sea, which is here, getting into Ukraine, near average precip is, but as you get over toward western parts of Ukraine and points north of there, dry. But the Russian wheat belt had a mild and at times wet beginning of this year. So I just want to give you that perspective as we move into these northern hemisphere growing season. And lastly, I just want to plug the video I'm going to release on Wednesday. We will, of course, put out our normal Tuesday regional videos, but on Wednesday, I'm going to give a new long-range update. And it's going to focus on the model output from the European model. It looks as though May from the European model is going to stay very active with severe weather in the Central Plains, and it's going to be very wet here along the Gulf Coast. But we'll also talk about how in June, the progression possibly could point toward being wetter in the northern plains in the Mississippi and Missouri watershed. And I'm very concerned because that region's soaked right now. And we're going to talk about what might force that, which could be a developing southeastern ridge. Now, this again is just looking at one model. We'll give you a full diagnosis, my.nutrienagsolutions.com. Check that out on Wednesday. So with that, I'll just go and wrap up this video right here. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our next ag forecasts coming out this week. Hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.